man said this photograph was taken in his daughter's garden around 11 at night. At the time, nothing unusual was noticed. The night was quiet, calm, and seemingly empty. Later, while examining the image, they noticed something impossible to explain. A figure stood nearby, distinct and disturbingly close. The most unsettling part was that no one had seen it with the naked eye. It was as if the figure appeared only for the camera, or had always been there, hidden within the darkness. What do you think stood beside them that night? Write your thoughts in the comments. This photograph was taken at Barnard Castle in England. The image clearly shows a white figure, as if hiding near the ancient stone walls of the fortress. It is difficult to say whether this is a trick of light or something else entirely, but the shape appears too defined to dismiss as coincidence. Construction of Barnard Castle began in 1095, and it was once a favored place of King Richard III. Today, it is a protected heritage site, but its history seems to have taken on a darker life of its own. It is said that nearby pubs regularly capture strange videos featuring mysterious orbs, shadows, blurred figures, faces, and unexplained movements, as if something around the castle refuses to rest. This photograph only deepens the mystery of who, or what, still lingers within those old walls. What do you think was hiding there? Share your opinion. This photograph appeared on social media with no background story, but the image itself was enough to make hearts race. Behind the man, a female face can be discerned, not just a face, but a sinister silhouette with eyes that seemed to glow from within. Many who saw the photo said they felt as if someone invisible was watching them. A cold, creeping fear set in, the kind that reaches deep and lingers long after the image is gone. What do you think was captured behind him? Share your opinion in the comments. The man who took this photograph was initially just trying to identify the source of strange noises in his house. He was used to ordinary nighttime sounds, shifting walls, temperature changes, nothing unusual. But that night was different. He was alone when he heard persistent knocking, floorboards creaking, and, most disturbing of all, footsteps and the faint rustle of clothing, as if someone was slowly moving down the hallway. He pointed his phone toward the sounds and took a picture. What appeared in the image unsettled him deeply. A face seemed to be peering through a gap in the doorway. Blurred, but far too disturbing to ignore. Since that moment, he no longer feels safe in his own home. He admitted he is now looking for a new place to live. The photo, and the sounds that preceded it, convinced him that whatever was captured, he is no longer willing to stay under that roof. What do you think was looking through the door? Write in the comments. In this image, a young man is simply standing next to a car, an ordinary photo at first glance. But a friend immediately noticed a terrifying face emerging in the picture. Eyes, nose, mouth, everything was there, far too clear to be dismissed as coincidence. The two felt a sudden chill run through them. The face seemed to be watching, motionless, as if frozen between worlds. A simple photograph became something far more disturbing, leaving them with the feeling that even a familiar street is not as safe as it seems. What do you think appeared in this photo? Share your thoughts. This photograph was taken at Fairview Lawn Cemetery in Canada, the final resting place of more than 100 victims of the Titanic disaster. A team of researchers was simply taking random photos of the grounds, expecting nothing unusual. But one image made them stop. Among the calm rows of gravestones, a ghostly face seems to emerge, pale and blurred, as if trying to break through the mist between worlds. Many who have seen this photograph admit that once the face is noticed, a cold shiver runs through the body. What do you think appeared among the graves? Share your thoughts in the comments. These two photographs were taken in the same location, less than an hour apart. They were captured by a trail camera installed in an old forested area on the grounds of a former colonial settlement in upstate South Carolina. Long ago, a small community of early settlers lived there. The history of the place is grim. Most of the inhabitants were killed during an attack. Over time, the land was reclaimed by forest, quiet, but deeply unsettling. The first photo shows an ordinary nighttime scene. The second, taken only minutes later, reveals a strange figure in the same spot. Its outline is far too clear to be explained by light or shadow alone. Many who have seen the images say the shape resembles a human silhouette, as if standing on an old path once used by the last surviving settlers as they fled. Is it fog, a camera effect, or something left behind from a long-forgotten tragedy? The images suggest that the past of this place has not disappeared. It is still watching from the darkness of the forest. What do you think was captured here? Write your opinion in the comments. This photo was taken several years ago in an old apartment. The owner of the image was simply experimenting with a new digital camera, a cheap model often used as a webcam. Later, he believed the images had been lost. Unexpectedly, an acquaintance found a copy and sent it to him by email. When he opened the file, he froze. In the hallway stood something unnatural, a pale figure with no head. He could not explain what the camera had captured, but even now, the sight of that anomaly sends chills down his spine. What do you think appeared in that hallway? Write in the comments. In the next photograph, a young man simply took a picture of himself in a mirror. Nothing unusual was expected, but when he later examined the image more closely, he noticed a figure at the bottom of the frame, clear enough that it could not be ignored. He was certain he had been alone, yet the photo suggested otherwise, as if someone had been watching him the entire time. For many who have seen this image, the figure provokes genuine fear. It is motionless and silent, like the embodiment of something dangerous. It feels as if it was hiding, waiting for the right moment to remind him that the world is not always safe, even when you believe you are alone. What do you think appeared in the mirror? Write your thoughts in the comments. The owner of this photograph explained that the camera had been installed deep in the forest and set to activate only when movement was detected. Its sole purpose was to capture deer and other wildlife passing by. According to him, there was no possible way for a person to be there unnoticed. And for the camera to trigger, something had to be moving. What the camera ultimately recorded raised only one question: who, or what, could have appeared there at that moment, if no people were present by definition? What do you think set off the camera? Share your thoughts. At first glance, this photograph looked ordinary, a group of young women smiling for the camera. Photographer Matthew Summers didn't notice anything strange until later. Zooming in, he saw her. Between the legs of the girls on the left stood a small child, expressionless and faded. Her eyes were dark voids, her face ghostly pale. No one remembered seeing a child there. When Matthew asked around, locals told him a girl had died on that very street years before, hit by a carriage while playing. They say her spirit still lingers, appearing only in photos, forever standing among the living, silent and unseen. In 1959, Mabel Chenery visited her mother's grave. It was a quiet, gray afternoon. On her way home, she snapped a casual picture of her husband sitting behind the wheel, smiling faintly. When she developed the photo later, her blood ran cold. On the back seat, visible through the window, was another face, sharp, ghostly pale, with unmistakable eyes. Mabel's mother, the woman whose grave she had just visited. Experts reviewed the image but found no sign of tampering. For Mabel, the message was clear. Her mother had wanted one last ride home. Photographer Neil Sandbach was scouting locations for a countryside wedding in Hertfordshire. It was peaceful, quiet, perfect for his clients. He took a few test shots around the barn, capturing the light and setting. But later, when he looked at the developed photos, a chill ran down his spine. In one frame, standing by the barn door, was a glowing figure of a young boy in white clothing. His face was blurred, his body faintly transparent. When Neil showed the image to the couple, they fell silent. "We've heard stories," they said, "about a ghost boy who wanders these fields. Some claim he was a farmhand who died centuries ago in an accident. Others say he was buried nearby, never found peace. But since that photo was taken, many refuse to be alone near that barn at night." A visitor to the Ulster Folk and Transport Museum in Northern Ireland took what should have been a harmless picture inside an old train carriage. He was alone, or so he thought. When the photo was developed, 2 more passengers appeared. One sat to his left, a gaunt man with hollow eyes, staring directly at the camera. The other, on the right, had clearer features and even cast a reflection on the polished floor. Investigators who reviewed the image claimed it was impossible. There was no one else inside, and the lighting made reflections from outside unlikely. The man who took the picture said he no longer rides trains. "If they're still traveling," he said quietly, "I want no part in their journey." In 1982, photographer Chris Brackley visited a church in London. The building was quiet, filled with echoing whispers of the past. He took several photos of the interior, empty pews, stone arches, flickering candles. Later, when he reviewed the film, one picture stood out. In the upper loft, where no one had been standing, was a pale, transparent figure, gazing down. Chris confirmed only 4 people were inside the church that day, none near that spot. Experts examined the film. No tricks, no reflections, no double exposure. It was real. The Decibel Hotel in Romania had stood abandoned for years, its walls crumbling and its silence oppressive. Locals avoided it, claiming a tall woman roamed the halls, a spirit guarding the ancient Roman treasures buried beneath the foundation. In 2008, Victoria Iovan entered the hotel with her boyfriend, camera in hand. She took photos of the grand staircase, the cracked walls, the fading murals. Later, at home, she noticed something impossible. Behind her boyfriend stood a translucent woman, tall and regal, wearing a flowing white gown. Her face was serene, but her eyes, empty. Victoria said it looked like a priestess, a guardian of the past. Experts tried to debunk the image, but nothing could explain the figure's presence. Since then, explorers who've entered the Decibel Hotel claim to hear soft footsteps following them, even when they're completely alone. In one scene, actor Ted Danson stands by a window, and just behind the curtain, a young boy appears, pale and expressionless, staring straight into the camera. Danson swore no such boy was present, and neither the director nor the crew recalled hiring a child actor. The room had been empty, at least, it was supposed to be. The image of the boy, half hidden but unmistakable, chilled everyone who saw it. Some say it was the spirit of a child who once lived in the building before it became a film set. Others believe it was something darker, something drawn to the energy of the production. Whatever it was, that haunting little face burned itself into cinematic history, a ghost that managed to sneak into Hollywood. Behind Diana, something pale sat silently in the pews, a ghostly woman draped in white, her small hat tilted slightly to the side, her clothes from another century. The photo captured her perfectly, though no one remembered seeing anyone there. When Diana and her husband returned to the church the next summer, they questioned the staff, asking if anyone had ever seen a woman like that. The priest hesitated, then spoke of the White Lady, known among locals as the Healer. According to legend, she appears beside those in need of recovery, sometimes to comfort, sometimes to warn. Diana remembered she had been sick during that time, unable to shake a strange illness. After that visit, she recovered completely. The mysterious woman behind her was never seen again, but the image remains a haunting reminder that perhaps something, or someone, had been watching over her. Jim Templeton had only wanted a quiet day with his wife and daughter by the water. He took a few pictures of his little girl smiling in the grass, nothing out of the ordinary. But when the film came back, his heart froze. Behind her stood a tall, white figure, looming silently. It looked almost human, yet its proportions and stance were wrong. The face was blurred, but the shape resembled a helmet. Kodak examined the film, confirming it was untouched. No double exposure, no manipulation. News spread quickly, and people called the figure the Solway first spaceman. Some said it was a time traveler, others, an otherworldly visitor. Jim swore no one else was there. The marshlands were empty. To this day, the photo remains unexplained, a moment of something impossible caught forever on film. This image, taken by police officers, shows a dark house in Gary, Indiana, the home of Latoya Ammons and her children. In the photo, a figure can be seen in the right window, solid, human-shaped, staring out. Officer Austin Gary didn't believe in ghosts at first. He thought the story was another attempt to make headlines. But after visiting the home, interviewing witnesses, and snapping a few photos, he changed his mind. Neighbors claimed they heard screams and footsteps at night, long after the house was empty. Even the police dog refused to enter. The air felt thick and cold, and the moment Austin reviewed the photo, he whispered, "Now I believe." The house was later demolished, but locals still say they see lights moving inside the empty lot, long after midnight,